Welcome to For the Record, an unfiltered view on current trends and timeless advice for surviving in the aesthetics industry. Whether you're an injector, practice owner, sales rep, or marketer, it's time to set the record straight. Each week we cut through the chaos and showcase diverse perspectives and winning ideas from the best minds in the industry. I'm your host, Dr. Tiffany Hall, Chief Growth Officer at Aesthetic Record. Now, let's get started on this week's episode. Hey guys, welcome back to Season 5 of For the Record, and we are off to a heck of a start with 20 episodes of what we hope to be greatness, talking about practice management, skill, how to grow, profit, make things, really turn water into wine in our competitive industry and make your practice succeed. And we have with us today the man to tell us how to do it. He is a bigger than life force to be reckoned with, been in the industry for I think about 10 years. We have with us Chris Balbi, who is the co-owner and director of operations at Meesha Aesthetics, which he owns with his mother, which I think is so cool, with his mom. But he is a marketing guru. He knows all about all the things when it comes to social media, when it comes to websites, how to grow practice, how to grow your footprint. He is like the king of the giveaway as well. If you've not seen us on Instagram, he does amazing giveaways. He also always wears a bow tie. We are both in our shiny jackets today because he is Mr. Fashion Sense and a phenomenal speaker who has really crisscrossed the whole country talking about everything from memberships to how to grow your practice to how to make money. And is just really, truly an expert on all things aesthetics. And I am thrilled to have him here today with us because he's so much fun and we're going to have a blast today. So Chris, welcome to For the Record, and we can't wait to get started with you.
What if I came in after that introduction very monotone? Wouldn't that be like the worst thing in the world? If I was like, thank you for having me. No, for seriously, I'm super excited to be here. Okay, you did mention my bow ties. I do have plenty of them. But I was mentioning earlier, it's 103 degrees here in Philadelphia. It is insane. And I could not justify sweating my way because I'm an animated person. So I know that between the two of us, we're just going to be going nonstop. So you didn't get a bow tie today, but I'll tell you the story a little bit later.
But I got the shiny jacket, so fun thing. I got this for Christmas from my sister, my jacket that I'm wearing. If you guys are listening to us, go to Spotify or YouTube, you can see it. And I was like, I have to wear this jacket today because it's Chris. And he'll have some fabulous outfit on because he always does. It'll be fancy and shiny. If you were at AMSPA this year in this gorgeous, like rose gold jacket, you are a fashionista, my friend. Whether or not you know it, you are like a fashion icon in the industry. And so I had to measure up.
And then, of course, like I showed up in a black t-shirt and I was like, okay, I'm ready. And you're like, so I'm wearing glitter. What about you? I definitely got it. I definitely got it.
You're rocking now, baby.
So yeah, I have 375 bow ties, and now I have 9 sparkly blazers. Did I ever tell you the story of the bow tie?
No, but I would love to hear. I read about it online and it sounds fascinating. And it's like the launching point of all your marketing guru-ness. So tell it to us. I want to hear it.
Yeah, so back in college, right after I graduated college, I decided to go on a weight loss journey because I was moving to Philadelphia. And I thought, okay, wait, if I'm going to move to this giant city with all these cute boys, I got to look the part. So I needed motivation. So I ended up buying myself one bow tie for every pound I lost. I ended up losing like 125 pounds or so, and I bought a different bow tie for every pound. Then it kind of became my brand, and I started talking about that on social media. And I kept getting likes and comments, and people were really inspired by my journey. And I was kind of falling in love with the dopamine hit that I was getting anytime I like shared my bow ties. So it became my brand. Then it transformed. This is before med spas were even a thing on my radar. It transformed that when I was like going to job interviews in higher education or in car dealerships or whatever I was doing those days, I would at the end of the interview casually take off my bow tie and like leave it on the seat, never to make a big deal out of it, but I would leave. And then I'd always get an email from the employer that would be like, oh my gosh, you had like taken your bow tie off in the middle of the interview and you left it on the seat. Can you swing by and grab it? And I would always say, you know what, give it back to me on my first day of work. And so every company was always like, whoa, like you left a lasting impression where no one else could.
I love that. And I think that's, I mean, we'll get into Misha in a little bit, but I think that's kind of what you do, Chris. You leave your mark on stuff. Like when you come into it, whether it's the room or a business, I know you're there. Like I am well aware that you were there. And I think people, they underestimate the value of being seen, of just being seen and like being larger than life and having a presence. Even when it's scary, you got to put yourself out there. And I just think you do it so beautifully and you're so likable that I think it all makes sense for you. I would look like an idiot being out there and being fun, but you pull it off so beautifully. But the bow tie guy, from here on, from here to forever, you are the bow tie guy. I love it.
I definitely get it. I honestly think like if we're just gonna drop some secrets throughout the entire podcast, I honestly think the secret to likability is not just self-confidence, but also being a genuinely nice person and being engaged in the people you're speaking with, because people remember feeling wanted, right? And it's not just like a romantic way, but also in like a friendship way and a colleague way. So if you're engaging with them and asking about their business and asking about their aspirations, instead of just talking about yourself, listen, I know that this podcast will be seen by certain people who may feel that like the best way to reach the top is to always talk about yourself. No, if we start talking about everybody, people remember that you asked questions about them and they end up remembering you because, oh, that was the guy who cared about me.
I agree. I think patients are the same way. I think in a med spa environment, whether you're there, you're in a tech company, wherever it is that you operate, if people think that you believe in them, invest in them, care about them, they'll do more for you as well. Like if you want to get more, if you want to get ahead in life, make someone feel good about themselves. They'll help you more, like more willingly, better quality help. I think it's like the golden rule, right? Treat them well, and they'll treat you well. I couldn't agree more. I think our industry right now, that's a big black eye in many ways in our industry, that we're not doing that quite as good as we say we are. We advertise it a lot, right? Community of competition, but it's not realistic. And I think you model it really well. I mean, I've been around you, here and there for many years, and always so positive and speaking good about other people. That's not always the case. So I think if nothing else today, learn people to be good to others, to be kind, and to do good for people, because I think it pays back infinite dividends. I really do. I believe that.
And I don't know if you guys follow me on social media yet, but definitely follow our company at Botox by Meesha. That's BOTOXBYMEESHA. Plug. No, but definitely follow us because we start every day with the mantra on our Instagram stories, reminding all of our clients that they're already beautiful. So, we never want to be predatorial and like, oh, you got a wrinkle, come on in. Oh, that lip's deflated, come on in. I mean, it might be the truth, but we're never going to say it to them, right? We're going to remind them that they're beautiful when they walk in the door because it's easier to make them feel beautiful when they leave as well. So that positivity definitely resonates with our clients as well.
Yes, and it shouldn't be scary. I have a few friends that have like the little dimple in their chin, and they always go and they always hear, "I can get rid of that." Like, but that's my signature look. Why would you get rid of that? Like, that's not a flaw. I love that thing. And so I think part of it is like you're already beautiful, and whatever you want to have done, if there are things that you love about yourself that are to someone else a flaw or an issue, then leave it alone. Don't go there. I think we are very presumptuous here. Like we have all the things. Here's our arsenal of tools. We can do everything for you. It's like, yeah, but I may not want everything. So I think just having the patient focused idea first of like, they're here, they're a human in the chair. We just talked about before we started about selling to people. They're a human in the chair who has wants and needs and desires, and it's our job to match those and to deliver them to the promised land, right? Not our promised land, their promised land, which is a bit different. So I have a whole epiphany bridge lecture about this, about you got to make the customer feel like the hero in the story. You're just holding their hand and guiding them, but they're the hero. So yes, and you know who else does an opening mantra? Walmart with the little wiggle squiggle thing. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah. Yes.
They do the whole thing. Hey, it helped them grow to be a multi-billion-dollar company, Chris. So you're onto something here.
Wait, have you ever trademarked the Tiffany Epiphany?
No, but I should. Don't anyone else do it?
I love that. I think that you should. Hey, welcome to Tiffany's Epiphany. I'm here to tell you what I'm thinking today.
That's a whole like news, like a newsletter, like from Tiffany's desk, but Tiffany's Epiphany. See, he is a marketing genius, guys. I told you. I told you. Well, turning the corner here on that, you are the co-owner of 4 locations, and I sent Chris a text last night about it's like having children who are on acid and Adderall when you have multiple locations because it's like every day is a different shit show. But you have 4. You guys are growing tremendously. You've been growing since you showed up, I think, almost 10 years ago, and you guys do things I think just really, really well and very ethical and at the highest standard. But 4 of them, Chris, give us an idea of what goes on in a day to day for you because I think as a practice manager, operations director, it's a lot of balls in the air, a lot of plates spinning. And how do you survive it? And yeah, what's your daily life look like?
Okay, so the day in the life is typically a wake up and lay in bed and scroll. And I get to justify that by saying that that's part of my job because I need to have my like hand on the pulse of like what is pop culture, right? What broke overnight? But I see it, right? I see it out there. So are the Tony Awards here, the Oscar Awards. So that is the first half hour of my day. Some people jump out of bed and go to the gym. Some people jump out of bed and like make coffee. No, I sit and I scroll and I justify it as truly part of my day to day, right? So then I look at the schedule and I usually have it broken down at which office I will be at throughout the week. So I let people know on Mondays I'm in Allentown, Tuesdays I'm in Warminster, Wednesdays I'm in Philly, Thursdays I'm in so on and so forth. But then I look at the calendar in the morning and I think, okay, did anybody call out? Does anyone need front desk coverage? Does any of the managers need a moment with their children at home? I don't have kids, so I don't really have the luxury of calling out because of kids. Not that that's a huge deal for me. Big family forward practice, but I'm always like, where can I, plug myself in to be the most helpful? Typical day then, I jump in the car, I get to the office, we do our good morning daily mantra video. I have a consistent posting schedule of 10:07 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. My excuse being is that by the time you get to work at 9, you're not on social media, right? You're checking your work emails, you're checking in with your boss, you're checking in with your go-to daily what to do. Then at like 10:07, you're on your phone already and you're like, I need a distraction. And I am that distraction. I am that edutainment, that education entertainment. I'm providing that daily dose of aesthetic medicine, that little tidbit of what can we talk about today? Is it biostimulators, biohormone identical therapy, whatever we're talking about that week? And that's at like that 10:37. And from there, my day is just a sprint, right? Every hour on the hour, we check in on the stories. Between stories, though, I'm fielding calls, not from clients as much as I am handling like the tech side of things. How's our EMR doing? Are we switching phone systems? What's going on the back end? And I check in with all my offices. I'm like, hey, Philadelphia, do you need me to bring Botox to you tomorrow? Hey, Warminster, do you need 4x4s or 2x2s? How's your alcohol supply? We ship everything to our main hub in Allentown, and I do that to save money because you save in bulk, right? So we ship everything there, and then I divvy it up, and I'm the gopher. I drive it between offices. I got some coworkers who help me do that as well. Today was a fun day. I got to go to a local baseball stadium. We're doing Botox and baseballs. A huge segment I think we should talk about later is social media dying. It's like one of my hot topics these days. And the reason I bring it up is we're doing 9 events between yesterday and August 31st. Those are in-person events. They're not in my office. They're at baseball stadiums. They're at mommy and me daycares. They're at high schools. They're at touch-a-trucks. They're at festivals and fairs because no other med spa is. So without any med spa competition, how many med spas do you know that are on social media? All of them. How many med spas do you know that are going to touch-a-trucks? But wait, Tiffany, before I go into this further, do you know what a touch-a-truck is? I just learned this.
Honey, I'm from Arkansas. We've been doing touch of trucks my whole life. Oh, yeah.
Okay, so if you don't know what a touch-a-truck is, it's where we or they, police officers, firefighters, EMT, and bring their big old trucks, and you bring out usually boys, but hey, it's 2024, so all kids are welcome to come out and sit in a fire truck, sit in a police car, and there's tables set up and food trucks. But who has to bring these children to these events? Mothers and fathers. And who looks a little tired and could use some TLC? Mothers. And who's looking to talk about anything but trucks at these events? Mothers. And where did I tell you there are no other med spas but mine at these events? With these events, right? So these are the kind of things I want to talk about in a later segment. So that was part of my job today. I started researching where these other events I could go to. Now I round out about 2 o'clock. My car is packed. I visit a second office. I drop supplies off. I check in on social media again. Then I get home around 4 o'clock, check in with my husband. I start cooking dinner. While dinner is cooking, back to checking the grind on social media to see like, what are we talking about? What's trending? Did I miss anything? And then I finally do some like pleasure reading, which is my new hobby right now. Like I'm currently reading about fairies, and it's insane. It's the craziest thing I've ever done. But I started to find out that I can't live in the world of marketing and med spas for more than 10 hours a day. If I don't flip off and do something for myself, I am going to burn out. So I turn off at 7 now. We're not saving babies. Things will wait. So that's my day.
I love the end of that. We talked about here having creative time, like carving out something for your brain. It's like neuroplasticity, right? You should learn new things all the time, make your brain work. If you do this every day, all day, I think it gets monotonous too. I mean, it just, even if it's wild and chaotic and busy, it's like boring busy at some point because it's no longer fun. So I agree with you. I do a lot of like podcast listening and like I love to do books on tape. I'm cleaning or whatever else because I feel like I need to hear things. I need to hear what's going on. I don't have time to physically read. I love to read, but I think I would love to do pleasure fiction as well. But I feel guilty about that, Chris, because like, if I'm not learning how to do better at my business or at this job, I'm failing, which is a personal issue I've got to work through.
Yeah, no, but that's so important for you to understand that That's what brings you joy. And I think that's what separates people, right? Is like if you find joy in the success of your business, I do as well. But if it brings you joy to continue that after hours, get it. No one says you can't.
And I don't cook, honey. That's on you. I don't. You don't want me in the kitchen. Never a good thing. I DoorDash like a professional, but I don't cook. That's something that I'll leave that to you, my friend.
Okay, so now we're gonna just go slightly off topic because I'm just curious now. What was your last DoorDash order? Like, what do you DoorDash most often?
Well, my last one was a pad thai from PF Chang's with gluten free noodles, by the way. But we do a lot of, we do all kinds of things at our house. But poke, my little boy loves poke like 4 days a week. But I'll DoorDash anything. I Instacart only. I think buying groceries yourself is a waste of time. If you look at your hourly rate that you bill as a person in a corporate environment, you're costing yourself hundreds of dollars to be in Target. Also, you can't control your paycheck in Target. You just buy everything you see. So I only Instacart. I don't go to the grocery store unless it's like, crisis level. But yeah, I try to limit my errands I have to run in a given day so that I can stay focused on what I need to get done, which in many cases like my family, to your point. Like I have a little boy at home. I've got to be able to spend some time with him. So yeah, but DoorDash is my DoorDash bill per month. God knows what it is. Like I could hire a personal chef when I spend in DoorDash, I'm sure.
So if anyone's looking to make a donation, we are
Yes.
now accepting personal chef donations for the record team for their personal chef.
We Instacart here too. I have Costco deliver our deliveries for all of our snacks and drinks and things here. Even our office supplies, I Instacart literally everything because to have somebody go get it and waste the time to go get it, it's not smart for our business. But I digress. But I want to camp for a second on what you mentioned about social media dying and this idea of going to local events. I could not agree with you more that you need to be in places where your customers live and play and dwell. And they are, while they're on social media, so is everyone else. And I think the things that you're mentioning are so unique and different. And it's like, I know them. I know Chris. I met the team. I know my injector, not just on social media, but I like physically met them and saw them and talked to them. I just think it gives your brand such a different value proposition. So walking through that, when did you decide it was dead, and what does that really mean? Tell us what that means, Chris.
Okay, so first of all, I'm gonna take the Tiffany Epiphany and use the slogan or the catchphrase. I want to camp on that for a little bit. Love that. Okay, so it all started circa 2000, I don't know, 23, maybe late 22. Um, we don't talk politics on our social media, right? And never have, never will. I don't advise anyone to do it. But what I started to realize is that social media became a toxic place after the 2020 election. And I wanted to spend less time there. And I started to realize that there was a lot of infighting on my Facebook, which is where a lot of my market was. And I noticed that a lot of my clients were like, Facebook's not a fun place anymore. And I thought, okay, well, if it's not fun anymore, who's going to want to be here, right? No one gets paid to be on social media unless you're an influencer, but so my customers are not influencers. So I thought, okay, if you're not having fun on social media, how can I get your attention again? So I started doing some digging and realizing, well, once COVID had like kind of tapered out and we started moving back into in-person events and Zoom meetings had died and Zoom happy hours were over, I thought, okay, so we're back into the real world. I saw a lot of med spas were doing in-house events, and I thought that's fun. But the thing with an in-house event is, and I'll warn you, is that they only get you new clients if your current clients bring a friend, right? It's very scary for a new client to just go to an open house anymore. It's just not what they're doing. So I thought, I don't want to spend a ton of money to throw a party for my current clients. Not that they're not worth it, but I want the new clients. So where are they? And it really came down to my sister having my nephew and my niece. And she was saying that she uses Facebook mommy groups all the time to find free events. So I was like, well, what are these free events? Talk to me about them. She's like, honestly, Chris, I cannot stay in my house with she has a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. I can't stay in the house with them all the time. I will go crazy. So I look for like free story times. And she says, honestly, even if the story time is just 45 minutes, it's a half-hour drive there, 45 minutes there, and then a half-hour back. I'm out of the house for almost 3 hours. And that was great. I didn't have to entertain the kids. I just did the driving, right? So we now also sponsor story times at our wellness center. That was one of the brilliant ideas we had. So once again, my children are not getting Botox. We know this, right? But who's driving the children to these story times? Mothers. And who looks a little tired? Mothers. And who would love to win free Botox at these events? Mothers. And who's going to come to these events because they're free? Mothers. And who's going to tell their other friends? You get it, right? So I don't want to beat a dead horse. So I started doing these free reading events, and then we have, I think I mentioned this to you a couple times. We do Repeat MD, which is like a rewards app, and we call our rewards app Meesha Plus, which has lent itself to do something we call Meesha Plus the community, which, listen, between you and I love giving back. It's a big part of why we do it, but a bigger reason of why we do it is to be out in the community, right? So Meesha Plus the community at Easter events, and Meesha Plus the community, we're sponsoring baseball games this year, which I was telling you I'm going to. We're doing 2 big fireworks games. Well, each of those baseball games are family oriented. They're around the 4th of July holiday. They have an estimated attendance of 12,000 people. Of those 12,000 people, they can provide us the demographics. They say that it's a lot of nuclear families. If you need that definition, a nuclear family is mom, dad, sister, brother. And I said, great. So that means I get at least one mom, maybe a sister who's over the age of 18. And mom and sister might be slightly into baseball, but they're going to be more into a table talking about beauty. I have a captive audience who was thrilled to hang out with me, right? So back to the social media being dead. I think about how fast trends die. Like, are we still dancing on TikTok? Not so much anymore, right? Are we still doing the ice bucket challenge? Absolutely not. Are we still, what are we doing on social media this week? Is it going to be relevant next week? Probably not. So events will always be top of mind. People will always want to get out and about. I love partnering with local vineyards. I love partnering with local salons, even like a sip and chat. We'll provide lunch. We have a big event coming up at the end of September. It's your kids are back in school, time to go back to learning about hormones. It's a much cuter title than that. It's in progress, but it's for women who are going through menopause and they're afraid to like talk about it one-on-one, but they're not afraid to sit and learn about it.
Yeah, I love this idea that I mean, it'll never be dead. We know that. But I think there are people who are very successful out there who have amazing clinics who don't do social media. They just don't do it. Like, they're like, I can't engage. It's not my thing. And we see them succeeding. And so we know that you can be busy and you can be profitable without social media. I think it is a necessary evil. But to your point, we're all doing the same thing. Like these trends, I see the same Instagram post, the same meme, because obviously I have all med spa followers and all med spa people who I'm following from our AR account. I'll see the same freaking meme 27 times in a 2-minute scroll. It's like, guys, like give me something different to look at, And obviously your patients aren't looking at 27 different med spas, but I am. And so I think there is this part where it's like kind of redundant and it's not unique. But to that point, so going back to your events, I think the crux of all this, Chris, at the end of the day is the follow up. You can have an incredible event, you can get leads, you can do all the things. But if no one is there to work that pipeline, to work those leads, to follow up, to nurture them, to make sure that they come back in, to give them the value that you described to them at these events, it's all for naught. You have a lot of eyeballs who are very engaged. It's like you brought the horse to water, but you got to make them actually do something and drink it. I hear that. I can't even tell you in a given day how much I hear this. Like I'll look at their data. I'm like, you're getting all these impressions, all these eyeballs, all these leads. What's happening? Well, when we get time to call them, we'll call them, we'll email them. Like, if you're going to do all that work on the front end to bring them to you and you're not going to work your butt off to convert them, what's the point of all of it? So, like, what is your process? Because now with 5.2 locations, how do you manage all the different locations and who's following up? Is it like a central call center for you? Or how do you manage the automations and the marketing, like the physical reach out with that many people in that many places?
I'm so glad you asked. So one of my biggest successes of 2024 was promoting. Okay, so backtracking, I was getting really tired of losing really smart front desk employees because there's no room for growth. And I sat down at one of my like 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. windows where I was like off the clock, but on the clock. And I was like, but why? Where can I make that position grow? And I created a position that is not new, right? Like other companies do this, but not in the med spa world. I now have a department of growth. And she's a growth manager. She's been with me for 4 years. She started at the front desk. She threatened to leave in the nicest way possible. She was just like, y'all, if I have to answer one more text message or phone call, I'm going to lose my mind. And I was like, okay, let's talk about it. What are your goals? What do you want to do? And she's like, I'd like to be motivated by more money. And I said, cool. How can I do that with you? So we had a conversation about it. And so now I funnel the leads from my Facebook ads, which I don't do a ton of. I'll be honest with you. I understand social media. I understand Facebook. Facebook ads are so hit or miss for me. Like, unless I'm doing a steep discount, they don't land very well. And when I am doing a steep discount, that person is just really there for the discount. And I'm like, did you really want me anyway? Anyways, digression. So I take those leads from Facebook or these events and I hand them over to her, and she has a spreadsheet. And so she has a list of names. They're highlighted, they're color coded from where event they came from. She reaches out to them with a very personalized text message, introducing them to Meesha Plus, our app, so they can save the $25 at their first visit. And then she goes back, because this is part of her full-time gig. Then she goes back and follows up if they booked or didn't book without being pushy. Hey, we know life gets busy. This is just our final time to reach out. If you want us to take a back seat, we're down. I promise you, 8 times out of 10, people are like, oh my gosh, thank you for reaching out a second time. I forgot. I'm a busy mom. I got busy at work. So then it goes a step further. And then once a month, she looks through that lead list again and types just to the right, did that patient come in? What did they come in for? How much did they spend? Why does she do that? Because I give her 2% of what they made. So she's motivated, right? I can cross-check it. I trust her, but I can cross-check it and I can say, okay, cool. I can see that on their EMR, my EMR system, that patient did spend $496. I only have to pay her the first time, and then they're my patient forever. Now, that being said, our busy lead season June to August for all these events. Once September hits, she then switches into retention manager. I don't switch her title. We don't update her business cards. She doesn't have business cards. But like she switches in gears, right? So then she goes through and she checks out every Botox patient, every dermaplane patient, one by one. Did they come back in? And she reaches out to them personally. Hey, Mandy, we loved giving you that dermaplane. We got rid of that vellus hair. Here's the thing, right? If you're going to go through the effort of a retention text, hell no, should I just see it? It's been 3 months since he's seen you. Do you want to come back in? No. What I want to see is, hey, Mandy, 3 months ago, we did a dermaplane where we removed your dead skin and vellus facial hair. It's probably grown back by now. Did you want to book a second appointment? Remind them why they came to you in the first point. Let's try one for Botox, people. It's not, hey, it's been 3 months since you had Botox. No, it's, hey, Mandy, 3 months ago, you had your glabellar done. Those are those angry 11s. Are you seeing those 11s come back yet? If so, I just want to let you know, Botox has a $50 off coupon thanks to Allie. Did you want to get a link to that? Do you see the difference, people? It's taken that like little extra step. Like the reason med spas aren't making it out there is because they're not putting the effort in. And if you want to have a job that doesn't require effort, there are dozens of repetitive factory floor jobs out there that need to be done. There's no shame in that, right? I have spent a lot of time on TikTok. There are a lot of girlies and boys out there who love repetitive work, and I love that for them. Get it. But if you want to run a med spa, you're not going to be in it for repetitive work. You're going to have to get creative. You're going to have to get passionate. You're going to have to get a little saucy. Otherwise, you're not going to see retention.
No, so first of all, I can give you a software right now to make your life easier. No, we launched our CRM Lead AR because of that, like the pipeline and following up and having leads come in and automating texts and things. Because the first 5 minutes with the follow up is important, or they go somewhere else. Like if you don't follow up with them, they gone. And they'll go to the next competitor, the next competitor. And I think what you just said about texting someone, because no one does it, Chris, no one mentions it, no one follows up. It's so shocking to get a text. You're like, holy cow, they care about me, because no one actually does it. It's so interesting to me. I do all these email lists and things. I like to find out what's going on in the industry, much like you do. So I'm on every email list from here to Kingdom Come. And it's like I get the most ridiculous, standard crap in my email every day. I'm like, if you just send a personalized text to me, I'll probably start looking at what you have, because it's like, oh, they actually know who I am. They sent me a note. But because no one does it, it's so unique that the minute someone does, you're like, yes, yes. And also, you're like me. I'm extraordinarily busy. Like, I'm so busy that I don't even know where I am most days. I forget. And if you don't keep telling me to do it, I ask my team, I won't do it. And so oftentimes that text is like, oh, thank God they messaged me. I couldn't remember the name of it or when I did it or what happened. I'm like, oh, if they would just text me again, I could figure out who that was. People need that. Like if they're busy, you mentioned busy moms, like we're all crazy. We want the reminder. It's so helpful for us to plan things in our day. And we forget that it's been 3 months. We forget that we didn't get our dermaplane done. So I think it's like this, a human touch of it is really important. I think the pipeline management is, for us, again, we have like probably what you have, thousands of leads every month, and we're trying to manage them all. We need to know where they are in the process and in the system and who's converted. And that's a whole discipline. I think what you mentioned with your person being a growth leader, I love the idea that if you have a job to be done, figure out how to make it into someone else's job and like promote them into it. Like you had a big need and she could fill it, but that is a full time gig. You cannot part time follow ups. You cannot part time lead management. It just doesn't work that way. If you don't have like an automation system that you can use, if you're a single person, then hire a person to help you. Because to spend money on ads and to spend money on events and things and then not follow through and not track the ROI on it, it's just like going down the interstate and putting money out the window. It just does not help you. But I think at the end of the day, follow up is key. It's so important to follow up. And I think if you give a good call to action as you've done, they'll say yes. If you give me a compelling reason to click or text or whatever, I will do it. If it's just like, hey, I haven't seen you in a while, you want to come in? Probably not. But if you say, hey, are you looking old and haggard because it's been 3 months? I'm like, yes, oh shit, I am looking old and haggard. Book me now. Different conversations, all about the vernacular, the nomenclature of what you're asking. So I love it. Kudos. Kudos to you.
I don't want to go too far back. If you don't have the budget for leads and you're just doing organic social, anyone who comments on your post is low-hanging fruit, right? Like that is effort that someone took out of their day. And so often people like just like a comment, right? You can go a step further and reply to that comment and engage with that person, one. And two, you can actually DM that person back and like start a conversation. Hey, I saw you commented on my Botox post. I just wanted to let you know that if you've never had Botox before, Allie is doing $100 off your first visit. Like, I don't know. I'm a big Allie proponent because it's a rebate. I get that money back, right? So, like, use that and use that to start the conversation.
You know who hustles, Chris? Drug dealers. Like I think we laugh about that here all the time. Like, be a drug dealer. They're hustling 24/7. They want business, they hustle. They want retention, they hustle. If you don't want to hustle for it, you won't have it. Our team, when we go to an event, all of our phones, our backgrounds are a QR code. That when you click on that QR code, you get a form to fill out for leads. You get our contact information. Like if I were an injector, I'd be walking around town with my QR code on my phone, be like, "Oh, you're interested in Botox? Here, snap this QR code, and we'll get you in." Not like here's my business card that's from 1997. People don't have time for that shit. They don't want to do a business card. They want to like click it and go. I think if you don't have online booking, you've missed so much. I think your app is critical because I feel immediately like I'm part of a program. I'm part of a bigger thing than just like some random person to do my Botox. I think the app, the Repeat MD, the whole Meesha Plus, it's like instantly I'm in your world. We are now friends or besties because I've joined your thing. Then they're not going to leave you because they're part of your world. They're part of your thing. It's a retention metric that, I mean, you've done this. I'm sure you compare a membership program to one without it. It is like not even, it's night and day. I mean, it's not even close how much better retention is if you have something to keep them sticky with your business and with your practice. So going into that kind of idea, when did you figure out memberships? I think people are still like on the fence, which I think is crazy. Like get with it. It's 2024. Do the membership program. But what are your like tactics or your secrets for that? Because I think they're really hard to manage if you're not strategic about it. How do you keep it all straight and manage all the people and all the money and all the things?
So I like learned a couple things along the way for sure. One of the big things I learned is that you have to always be one step ahead of what your consumers want, and you always have to be offering a value proposition. So currently, my best membership right now is what's called a Rose Gold membership. And the big value add is that you save $10 off of a microneedle, which is my most popular skincare service. So when I was creating this package, I thought, okay, what's my most popular service? Microneedling. How do I get people to commit to it? I can offer a package, or I can offer $10 off each one, and all you got to do is be a member. Once you're a member, you're paying for it each time. Now, I'll let you know, Tiffany, I'm about to launch a brand new membership program. We're going straight to beauty banks. So there's still technically memberships, but at this point, we're removing all of the forced options of what you can use your membership on. And we're basically saying they're credits, use them on anything. What I was seeing is that we offered it the ability in the past anyway, right? I'm going to keep it basic. We have a $100 membership. It gets you 5% off skincare, 5% off laser, 5% off Botox, right? You pay me $99 a month, or to make it easy, $100 a month. You can come in every month and use that $100 on a dermaplane, and the next month use it on a chemical peel. Or don't visit for 3 months, and in the fourth month, you've got $400 to spend on your Botox. Hashtag girl math. People are now realizing that they've kind of prepaid for their Botox. It almost feels cheaper and free. And that $100 that they've paid every month leading up to it, plus saving 5% off their total, feels better. So I'm launching that July 1st. We're going to see how that goes. Um, it's been a learning curve, right? So I'll be honest with you, Repeat MD does not speak with my EMR. So we've kind of had to like navigate how to we get payment from our memberships in a second service, and then we have to cash it out in a third way. And but that's what sets our med spa apart is we're willing to put that extra step in because we have 121 members paying $300 a month. And I know that those 120 members aren't going anywhere, right? Like if there's a competitor down the street doing, oh, can we all stop doing $8 an hour, $8 a unit Botox happy hours? You're driving me nuts. But if there's someone down the street doing that, my clients aren't going anywhere. They've got a membership. They've got credits with me. I'm hook, line, sinker, right? I will say the biggest tip for memberships is try it, set it for 6 months, find your strengths, and then reset them for another 6 months, right? So it's a little trial and error. You got to get to know your clients.
Yeah, that was one of the first things we built here at AR. And obviously, you don't have our system, but very similar thing. Like we're trying to work on connecting with Repeat MD, but I think at the same token as we have the beauty bank is like our number one way people do memberships because they're like the forced choice is hard. It's also keeping up with free goods and who gets what. We have a patient wallet, but still, it's like as a practice knowing what's in vogue in that moment. Like if I put on the dermaplane, but now it's a facial, I've got to change it, and that's a whole different thing. And there's agreements and contracts in place, but the beauty bank is like you put it in there, whatever you want to use it on. And to your point, when they come back in, it's like, oh, this is a free visit today. I'll upsell to something different because it's basically free. Although, of course, they paid it over the course of 3 months, but today it's actually free. I think it's the number one way for upsells in the moment because they feel like, to your point, it's cheaper, it's more free. But what I hear most of all, the biggest differentiator is that they have to feel different. They have to feel special. If they get an email for your Gen Pop and they're a membership person, they feel like you don't know that about them. Like you don't value the fact that they're different, that they paid to be your best. It's like a sorority. They paid to be your friend. I think practices often say, well, they're part of the membership. They're getting a benefit. They're getting a discount. That's enough. It's not enough. They want to be part of your club. So forget the money. It's more about the psychology of it. You have to make them feel better, special, different, have a VIP night, a special VIP thing. They get to see a procedure first. They get access to booking first, anything at all. They have to feel like they bought into more than just a transactional feature of your practice. And I think that's what people kind of, in the beginning, it's hard to do that, right? You're thinking about memberships and what am I going to offer, what's it going to cost, how am I going to track it. It's like, yeah, do all that and make them feel fancy. It's an additional thing you have to do, but I feel like that's the number one thing I hear all the time is it has to feel like I am special, or else I just think it's like a money transaction that I'm getting, like like a GPO basically. I'm getting GPO rates. I want to feel like I'm actually part of your world. I don't know if you guys feel that, but I'm sure you make them feel very special. I have no doubt at Meesha.
Well, so I mean, circling back to the whole giveaway thing, we just initiated that every member is automatically entered into every giveaway. You don't have to, and they earn an extra entry. You don't have to fight through comments or likes or whatever. And I mean, giveaways have kind of become the basis of our Misha Plus community initiative, right? So we do donations to local charities, but we also give back to our clients in the form of Botox units or new services. And I get them covered by my reps. And I always have a stipulation that if you win a giveaway, I get to use your photos on social media. And when the client comes in and if they're a good fit, I use the filler that's going to expire in a month or two. It's not fully expired yet, but you know what I'm saying? Like I make it work for my company as well, you know? So it's not just for the consumer, it's for us as well. If there's injector who's getting her feet wet, we roll it into a part of a training service. Or if there's a skincare product that we're phasing out, great, you get it for free. So the client still loves it, but so does our business manager.
Well, I don't know if you have the data close by. Sorry to put you on the spot, but looking at your lifetime value of members versus non-members, how different is it as far as like what they tend to spend, their frequency of coming back in? Give us like a difference in the two.
So the last time I pulled it, I'll be honest with you, was April of this year, and we did have 129 members, and on average, the members spend about 12% more per visit. So, and that usually comes in the form of skincare. So because they're saving on the Rose Gold, you save 15% on skincare. So typically what they'll do is they'll add another product because to them, they are saving 15%. So why not?
I think for retail, it is genius because they're going to get Botox anyway. We know that, right? They're going to get it in many
Yeah.
cases full price, like even putting it on discount, like why? They're going to pay full price for it. That's a non-negotiable. But they're not going to buy the sunscreen and the retinol and the HA whatever. They're not going to buy all that stuff. But if they have a membership, they will because again, it's free that day. It's a discount. I think for a retail strategy, you just can't beat it. I mean, it is like such a benefit to your retail strategy overall that you need an extra kicker because again, we have Amazon, we have Sephora, God help us. We have, La Mer at the Nordstrom counter. People don't get medical grade skincare. They don't understand it. They don't understand buying it from your practice. They're like, I'll go home, get on Amazon, no big deal. You want them to buy from you, and they will buy from you because they already have money in their bank with you. So you are their retail store.
Literally.
Love it. Okay, well, let's talk about your people because you have obviously you got patients in the door. They love you. Your patients think you guys are the best, but now people have to treat them and make them look and feel beautiful. Give me an idea of what you do as far as not even really onboarding, but keeping your providers retained and your providers excited. Because again, to what you said before, even though it's exciting here, it is kind of the same thing every day, right? It's the same stuff, different day. How do you keep them motivated to deliver the Meesha promise with every single patient?
So I think that one of the big draws for my team is we do compensate based on commission, but it's an extremely high commission, um, competitively across the board. And between you and I, it was a happy mistake. When we set that commission number years ago, we didn't do market research. And at this point, we're glad we made the mistake because it's kept our coworkers for so long. They're so happy. They're like, no matter how I feel on a certain day, I know that I'm valued based on what my office is willing to reinvest in me. Specifically, we offer to cover up to half of all courses, um, up to a certain amount per year. So, like if you want to go to Vegas for AmSpa or if you want to catch another conference, you present it to my bosses and say, hey, listen, I want to go to this conference. I'll cover the flights if you cover the hotel. Can we split the ticket price? And, we're all about conversations, right? So, that's a big part of it as well. We're very flexible with schedules and family time. You pretty much can block yourself out whenever you want. Just let us know so we can make sure that we can optimize the room space. We're always running incentives and promotions that benefit both injectors and estheticians. I mentioned earlier with this whole combo consult idea, where if you have an appointment booked with an injector, our phone team automatically reaches out and says, hey, to get the best experience here, Meesha, you might as well see an esthetician as well. Can I get you booked for that? Our estheticians love that because I know that estheticians often get the short end of the stick. People know they want Botox, they don't know they want the microneedling, right? So these kind of little odds and ends here and there, we rarely say no to anything. You need a ring light, I got you. You need you want to try this product, do the research, present it to us. You want to bring on the little pink pill, let's do it. You want to try Brella, on it. You want to try it, like we'll do the investment if you're going to push it. So we use our capital to invest in new machines, but not the ones that we necessarily would always want. We rely on our team to let us know what they want, and then they feel like part of the process.
That they have like an ownership stake in it now, in a sense. Like
Yeah.
they're entrepreneurs, which I think is so great. And I think about our schedule here. I mean, we have homes and we have children and we have just life. It can't always be about what I want them to do. It's like what they want to do, and I think they have to feel empowered to make their own choices, their own decisions. I love the idea of like giving them money for CME. We do that here as well. Like we give you a whole budget and a stipend. We certainly review it. I think what you say that about about that part's important. Review it, make sure it's worthy and valuable, and we ask that when you get done with it, come share with the team. Find folks who are relevant to that particular thing that you're doing and share with them. Share the knowledge because now you should be, at least a bit more of an expert than they are because you've gone to do these things. And it's just it shocks me people don't want to invest in their team. Like you're to hire and to go through turnover and to go through onboarding again and all that, and the patients seeing like a revolving wheel of people. It's just so hurtful for the business, and it will cost you way less to pay them more. It doesn't make sense, right? But it costs you way less to just pay them more and make them stay. And I think pay is such a different, it's a different thing for different people, but making them feel like they're part of the team and they're part of the process is super important for me. But you mentioned estheticians there and, that they get the short end of the stick. They do for sure all the time. They offer critical service. And I think the whole referral from esthetician to injector and back is really important. It's like a ping pong back and forth. But that leads you to kind of, one of my last questions here about the industry and where it's going. You see it firsthand every day. I've talked about like the industry is quote unquote down and sales are down. What does that mean for you? I think looking at it as a practice, are you pinching pennies? Are you thinking about your service mix being different? How are you preparing for what people think is a downturn or an economic recession? I have a different opinion of that. I won't say that yet. I'll let you talk about it first. But what do you do as a practice owner to get in front of it?
So I honestly feel like the word economic downturn is a scapegoat for slower books. I think that we're seeing a bloated industry right now, um, on top of pinching penny consumers, on top of people spreading out their treatments further, not just for financial reasons, but because the pillow aesthetic is out. right? Like the overfilled look was so 2020, 21, and early 2022. And now it's, I want bio, uh, biostimulators, and now I want the filter-free look. And those appearances come through with less frequent but more invasive treatments. So now you're not going to see $750 syringes 3 times a year. You're going to see $1,500 treatments once a year. So it feels like your books are slower, but you're still seeing the same $1,500 as just once. But now what happened to that second appointment, right? So it's your job to fill it with a new person or bring that person back, that same $1,500 client back in for other services that aren't related to the filler that we're talking about in this example, but might be skin resurfacing or products or things of that nature. So I don't think that it's fair to say that there's an economic downturn fully to blame for quote unquote slow books. I think a lot of what we're seeing is people are feeling fatigued from repetitive services, right? Like Bellafill, I think, coined the term filler fatigue. I think that not just the pillow aesthetic is out, but the thought of having to get Voluma even every year or 2 years is like, why? Forever? Until I'm 65, 70? Well, there's got to be a better way. So I think we're going to see a turn more into biostimulators. I think we're going to see a turn into functional medicine where people are more like, I want to look better because I'm eating and drinking better. I was just watching or listening to a podcast about how I truly think we're going to look at alcohol drinking wise the way we look. I love it. I love a martini. Don't get me wrong. But I think we're going to start looking at alcohol the way that we look at cigarettes a little bit. In that, like, we now know that smoking a bunch of cigarettes or vaping can cause physical signs of aging. And so I feel like we're on this precipice of we're going to start seeing that drinking a lot of alcohol can cause aging as well. And so we're going to start seeing a change up in what people are putting in their bodies and how frequently they have to visit because they're not causing as much cell damage with what they're consuming. It was a very roundabout answer, but I think we got there, right?
I love it. And you know what's interesting? I'll bring this up. I don't know if it's even relevant here, but I think it is. With the GLP-1 movement, obviously weight loss is huge. Everyone's doing it. It's a big thing. But I think we have not even tapped into the addiction center of our brain and how much it impacts us long term. Like I've been doing semaglutide or zebatide for quite a bit now. To think about drinking, I'm like, gross. I don't want that. Like your addiction need is so much different on these, on these drugs that I think we talk about a lot. The weight loss, more of like the aesthetic part of it, of looking good and feeling good. But people, their whole lives are changing. They can quit doing things they were addicted to before because that part of your brain is like kind of doesn't care so much anymore. I think there's so much study on that outside of our industry, but there is a big part of it that I think we don't even know the benefits of that long term for the wellness aspect of it. But I think from the body contouring, body is a big thing right now, obviously with weight loss. I think what you mentioned about having this like biostimulator function, looking at regenerative medicine, all these cool things coming out with PRP and PRF and biogel. People are kind of, I don't know that they're tired of it. I don't know if that's the right word, but we've been in this industry for quite a minute, you and I. Some of our customers, right? Some of our patients, they've been hearing about the same filler for 10 years. They're like, okay, what's new? What's out there? And I'm sure you hear it. They go to an event in your practice, like an open house at Christmas, like, what do you have that's new? They want the new thing. Whether it's better or worse, they don't care. It's like, what's new? I've got the same stuff every day. It's not exciting for me anymore. What do you have that's different or better? I think part of it is the novelty of it as well. That if you don't have things in your practice that are constantly kind of evolving and changing, it gets boring. I think if you're a retail shopper, you walk into a store, a high end store, they change the handbags around every few days. They change where the shirts are hanging or the shoes are hanging because it feels new. The same thing you've seen 15 times in a different space looks like it's brand new. I think we have to think about our med spa menu in the same way that you have to have kind of some novelty here and there because even if you don't end up getting it, it brought them in the door to ask about it. And so I think there's just a part, I agree with you. We look at the invoices here every day. Invoice amount's the same per transaction here. We're not seeing sales numbers different in our practices. It's just a completely different mix of goods. Completely different. It used to be all filler and toxin. Now it's like that's such a smaller percentage of the pie. And if you're not ready for that and branching out and going to these conferences and learning new skills like your people are doing, you're not ready for it. You got to kind of keep up with what's happening in the industry. But I agree with you. It's not a downturn. It's just, it's different. And I think slow books are slow books. We're oversaturated right now, as you and I've discussed before in this market. You've got to stand out in a big way to get patients. But I digress.
I think that we're going to see, and this is very top level here, but I think we're going to see a return of a lot of nurses going back to the OR and ER, if not part time, if not full time, at least part time, which I mean, I'll be fascinated, not in our industry, but I'll be fascinated to see what happens with the healthcare system, because I know a lot of my clients are like, well, I'm going to med school to be a nurse injector. And I'm sitting there in the back of my mind thinking, that's great, but make sure you've got a backup plan, because you're not going to make a ton of money in your first couple of years. And who's going to hire you in your first couple of years? And bedside manner is so important. And so I'll be curious to watch the market evolve, where there's going to be an influx of these brand new, gorgeous nurses who thought that they were just going to be injecting Botox. But there's so much more to it.
Well, I think the other part of that I predict, and this could be completely wrong, is that around COVID era, it was so big, everyone left to go build their own practice. I mean, you saw it, the mass exodus of being an entrepreneur. I think we're going to see a reverse shift. They're going to come back to Meesha and say, I don't want to do it on my own anymore. It's too freaking hard. I don't make any money. It's too much work. Can I come work for you? I love what I'm doing. I love the injecting. I love the patients, but I don't want to be the pie shop owner. I want to be the pie maker. I think we're going to see a reverse in that mentality of, this thing sounded really cool and great before I did it, and now I don't want to do it anymore. I want to work my 8 to 5 and go home and have my weekends and have my family and not worry about payroll. I think we're going to see a massive return. I think private equity is also driving that, because it's now what they offer you if they buy your practice is like, such cool stuff, and like all these strategic partnerships and things. We're going to see them go back from their little med spa on the square to working for bigger groups like yours who can sustain and who can provide them with really cool benefits.
I agree.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground, honey. What you got left? Anything else?
Tune into For the Record in 2030 as Tiffany's Epiphany officially takes over, and you can find out what officially happened.
Well, we're going to keep watching your journey, Chris, because you are at every conference everywhere. I feel like, hopefully less so now. You're making some time for yourself, but you're out speaking for Repeat, for Weave, sharing the gospel of things. And I think you've got your hand on the pulse of what's happening. But also, as you guys grow practices and you kind of see the struggles, to scale, it's a lot of work to scale things, but we'll be watching it for sure to see your meteoric rise continue and more of your sparkly jackets and bow ties, without a doubt. But what's next for you?
So I was just mentioning, I'm heading to my first ever full hour solo speech on AI, the artificial intelligence, which, we could do an entire other episode on For the Record on AI, which maybe we will in the future. So that's coming your way. And then I have another speech on making money while you sleep with online shops, that conference as well. Oh, I mentioned that 5.2 offices. So our new favorite thing to do is to pop up a med spa with a injector and a front desk person, but in a physical location that's branded to our office, and branded, like we paint the walls, we throw in some permanent chairs, shelves, like really deck it out. It's not just a salon party, it's so much more. And we're there for 2 months at a time. So, it's never far enough away that if we need you to pop in for a Botox touch up, you can't, but it's far enough away that like it's makes the drive worth it. So we're looking at more opportunities there, because we're finding out here in Pennsylvania, there are a couple untapped markets that are like an hour and a half outside of our market that just need a little TLC.
Well, that's what Lulu does. I don't know if you're a big Lulu guy, but I am. They do the pop-up shops, right? They're there for 6 months. If it works, they go build a shop there. It's genius. That's how you can scout like the best places to go, the real estate demographics. Like, honey, I love that idea, and I think making it look like your brand and it feels like it's Meesha, so cool. I love the point too. Maybe it'll be point 4 before long, but I love that idea. Send pictures, put it on Instagram. I want to see it.
Will do. Tiffany, I had so much fun. Let's do this again sometime.
Yes, well, thank you for coming on and being a fabulous guest and sharing all of your knowledge. There's so much more to unpack, I know. But if you guys have not yet followed Chris, you have to definitely do that. Give us your Instagram handle one more time.
It is at Botox by Meesha. That's at BOTOXBYMEESHA.
And you'll get all the fun. You'll get all the giveaways and all the fun things at Botox on Meesha. You have your own personal as well, but I think all the fun things happen on Meesha. Sorry.
And if you want, you'll follow me on Botox and Meesha, and you'll find the circle. I'm over there as well.
It all comes together. Well, thanks again for coming on, and I look forward to seeing what happens for you next. And I'll see all of you guys next week for another episode of For the Record. Bye, guys. Thanks for listening to another episode of For the Record. This podcast is not intended to provide legal or medical advice. It's for entertainment, education, and information purposes only. For more information on this week's guest or to get started with Aesthetic Record, email us at info@aestheticrecord.com. Be sure to tune in next week for more fresh perspectives on disrupting the status quo and surviving in the aesthetics industry.